Gelded, alive, gutted, and burned. The Queen's revenge on the King's lover. You think being close to the King is a blessing? For Hugh Despenser the Younger, it was a curse. A slow, torturous path straight to hell. He was not just a nobleman, but the lover of King Edward II of England. And for that love, he paid a price so horrific, so symbolic, that it remains one of the most savage executions in royal history. That all changed when he caught the attention of Edward II, a king known for his emotional dependency on male favorites. The king's favorite, or his secret lover, rumors swirled of their carnal relationship. In the ultra-religious 14th century, this was not just taboo, it was damnable. He rose into the king's bedchamber, becoming so powerful that he controlled the court, the treasury, and the king himself. He received vast estates, titles, and control over royal decisions, all while pushing aside the Queen, Isabella of France, Edward's wife. He crushed rivals, imprisoned opponents, and enriched himself. The nobility hated him. The church feared him. Even the Queen seethed with rage. Hugh Despenser was born into a noble family, but he was not destined for greatness. Despenser didn't just rise in the ranks. This wasn't just favoritism. Contemporaries and chroniclers accused them of sodomy, and Hugh didn't just bask in power. He crushed rivals, imprisoned opponents, and enriched himself. The nobility hated him. The church feared him. With her young son, Edward, she fled to France and took a lover of her own, the ambitious and ruthless Roger Mortimer. Even the Queen seethed with rage. The Queen strikes back. With a lover of her own in 1325, Queen Isabella had had enough. Together, they planned a coup. In 1326, they invaded England with a small army, and shockingly, they were welcomed as liberators. The sentence: high treason, theft, corruption, and sodomy with the king. The people hated Despenser so deeply, they turned against Edward II overnight. The king and Despenser fled, but they were caught, and Despenser was dragged back in chains, not just as a traitor, but as a symbol of everything foul and unholy at court. The most grotesque execution in English history. On November 24, 1326, Hugh Despenser was brought before a cheering mob in the town of Hereford. But this would not be a simple beheading. This would be a ritual execution of pain, shame, and public moral cleansing. He was stripped naked, tied to a ladder, and hoisted high above the crowd. No anesthetic, just screaming, blood, and the crowd roaring. Before anything else, the executioner cut off his genitals, slowly, while he was still fully conscious. His severed genitals were thrown into a fire to purify him from the sins of sodomy and lust. But that was just the beginning. While Despenser was still alive, the executioner took a knife, slit open his abdomen, and began to pull out his intestines. One long rope of gut at a time, they sliced open his stomach, removed his liver, lungs, and eventually his still-beating heart, and tossed each organ into the flames. The crowd watched every moment. Finally, his lifeless, mutilated body was cut into quarters, and his head was placed on a spike atop London Bridge. This was not just punishment. This was a political statement. This is what happens to a man who shares a king's bed. The stench of humiliation. Chroniclers of the time wrote that his body emitted a stench of burnt flesh, an offal that clung to the crowd for days. Women fainted, men vomited, but no one left. They wanted to witness the death of a man they believed had corrupted England itself. It wasn't just his death they wanted, it was his humiliation. For being too close, too intimate, too powerful, and too unnatural. The king's final days. Torture, murder, and a poker of iron. You'd think the story ends here. But the downfall of Despenser was just the beginning. King Edward II was stripped of his crown and imprisoned in Berkeley Castle, isolated and broken. His captors, agents of Queen Isabella and Mortimer, treated him like a criminal, not a king. Then, in September 1327, the former king died in mysterious circumstances. Some believe he died of natural causes, but medieval whispers and some modern historians suggest something far more sinister. According to one infamous legend, Edward was killed by having a red-hot poker inserted into his rectum, a final symbolic punishment for his unnatural passions. The idea was to leave no external marks, to make it appear as though he had simply died, while burning him from within. His death, like Despenser's, was designed to send a message. This is what happens to